Hello and welcome to Tech Deals. ADATA's SU700 budget SSD. Should you buy one? Review. In today's video, I'm going to show you its performance, compare it to the other ADATA SSDs, compare it to other SSDs on the market, and give a recommendation on what you should do based upon the current price when you watch this video. On the day I recorded this video, the SU700 240GB drive was $75 on Amazon. The SU800 256GB drive was $79 on Amazon. Links to Amazon and Newegg down in the video description below for all these drives. Check current prices. They do change often, and if the prices are different when you watch this video, that's going to change the conclusions a bit. But first of all, I'd like to point out that when I filmed this video, the SU800 is actually less expensive. Because it's a larger drive, not by much, but by 16 gigabytes, if you divide the price into the size, the SU800 is actually less. So before we even talk about performance or anything else, at current prices, there's no reason to buy an SU700 when the SU800 is available at this price. Now, if you're watching this video in the future and the SU700 is $15, $20 less expensive, if you can find a really good deal on it, sure, it's a fine drive and it'll serve you very, very well. But if the price of these is within $5 or maybe even $10, the larger size of the SU800 means buy the 800 and be done with it. Well, that's great on the price, but what about performance? I'm going to put the performance numbers up here on the screen for you to see. The SU800 is faster than the SU700, sometimes noticeably so, sometimes not. If you have a budget to a mid-level machine, i3, i5, or Ryzen 3, Ryzen 5, something in the $500 to $1,000 price range, you may very well not notice a large difference between the performance of these two drives. As your machine becomes nicer, you will. And certainly if you're spending $1,000 or more, get at least an SU800. I wouldn't get a 700 for something like that. It's more oriented towards budget builds. But as far as performance goes, yes, in all respects, the SU800 is faster. Another factor to consider with SSDs is drive life, or total bytes written or drive endurance. The 240 gig SU700 has a 140 terabyte drive life. The 256 gigabyte SU800 has a 200 terabyte total drive life, so it's 42% longer lasting. They both have a 3-year warranty, but it's 3 years or the total drive life written, whichever comes first. The reality is, if you're watching this video and you have any chance of hitting either number in the next 3 years, you're buying the wrong drive. I have drives that are 5+ years old that have been actively used and they haven't hit 140 terabytes. So while this is concerning to some people, I actually don't think it's as big a deal as many people think it does, because hitting those numbers would require abusing these drives way beyond normal daily use. But if it's a concern in the back of your mind, just be aware that the SU800 does have about 42% more total drive life than the SU700. So that's the 700 and 800. What about the SU900? What's the difference? Well, the 700 and 800 are what's called TLC, or tri-level cell NAND flash drives. Basically, they store 3 bits per cell. The 900 is an MLC. It stores 2 bits per cell. In theory, this means that the 900 should last longer, except that ADATA only rates this for the same 200 terabytes total written at the same size as the SU800. Same 3-year warranty as well. Performance? Let me show you that. It's actually in some respects slower than the SU800 is. Why? I don't know. I've actually tested this on 2 different machines. I've tested it and rechecked it, and the numbers come out the same every time. The truth of the matter is the SU800 from a performance point of view is faster. It's also less expensive. When I filmed this video, this drive at the 256 gig size was just under $80, and the SU900 256 gig size was $110. So 3-year warranty, MLC, but the same 200 terabytes total written. Yeah, would I buy one? Honestly, I have to say no. Normally, the reason why you would buy an MLC drive is longer endurance. Samsung, for example, rates their Pro drives, which are MLCs, at double the endurance of the EVOs, which are TLCs. In fact, everything up here except the 900 is a TLC drive. The Pro version of the Samsungs is what is MLC, but they have more total terabytes data written, so that makes a difference. They also have a 5-year warranty on the Pros, whereas the EVOs only have a 3-year warranty, just like these drives. So that's a very long roundabout way of saying if you find an SU900 for a deal, if the price of this drive is similar to the price of an SU800, sure, there's no harm in buying it, it's just fine. I wouldn't pay more for it, however, because of its drive endurance rating and its warranty. Just buy an SU800. If you actually want a higher endurance drive and you want to drive with a 5-year warranty, that's what the Samsung Pro drives are for. Speaking of the other drives, how do these compare to the other drives that you see on the desk? Now, I have recommended these other drives in the past. They are still good drives. The Western Digital Blue, the SanDisk Ultra 2, and of course the Samsung 850 EVO. Now, the 850 EVO is of course the fastest drive up here, at least according to the benchmarks. In the real world, there is not a large performance difference between any of the drives on the desk. The SU700 is, of course, a tad slower, but even then, in real-world use in a mid-range computer up to about $1,000 or so, I don't think in a blind test you would really notice much of a difference between any of these drives. They're all within 10 or 20% of each other in terms of performance, and if you're putting them into a Ryzen 5 or an i5 machine, I would buy based upon price per gigabyte. Take the current price of the drives and divide them by their size. When comparing price to size, you may notice that the SU800 is in fact the deal up here because it's 256 gigabytes, and that is the real size. It is a bit bigger than the other drives. This is 250, 240. Some of the SanDisk Ultra 2s are 240, some are 250. They make both sizes. And then it's a 250 on the 850 EVO. So when you take the price, keep in mind the size for how many gigabytes you're getting for what you're spending. I mentioned Ryzen 5 and i5. What about i7 or Ryzen 7? If you're spending $1,500 to $2,000 on your computer, which of these should you buy? None of them. You should buy a Samsung 960 EVO. The fact of the matter is, if you're building a premium machine, skip the SATA drives. It's time to go to NVMe. This is noticeably faster than all of these drives. And if you're building a premium machine, get a Samsung 960 EVO. It's worth the small increase in price for its massive increase in performance for a premium machine. Like this video if you like it, share it with your friends if you loved it. Remember to subscribe to my channel with the big huge red button directly below. Questions and comments in the comment section, and as always, please check the links in the video description. They are affiliate links, they do support the channel, Amazon and Newegg. All the drives will be linked down there. Please check those out. Compare current prices when you're shopping. Prices and deals happen all the time. Buy the drive that makes the most sense for you. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you next time.